Recording before this recording, I moved all of my games to a different hard drive. And there's nothing very exciting about that. The hard drive I moved them to is slower, but usually I do fine. But all of my games, including the Steam archive and just the games I have lying around, sometimes multiple copies of the same game, appears to be only 10 gigabytes in size. Whereas one recording, one single file that can get output from OBS with the quality settings that I put can be that big. Just one recording. So by doing that, I freed up a very minute, unimportant, drop in a bucket amount of space in my hard drive where I put my recordings. Something is really off with this piece proportions here. Let me see if I can fix this. Okay, that looks better. Except... Okay. Hopefully previous recording didn't get messed up. That is pretty concerning. I'll have to go back and look at that footage. It might be very disturbing footage. In fact, I will pause this encoding and do that right now. I just went back and looked at that old footage and it looks fine. But that was a skip mad scare. For some reason suddenly went 1080p and full screen. Well, maybe we can make it work. Cool, made it work. Sorry for that awkwardness. That was kind of weird. Okay. Today I actually went into real court because I got summoned for jury duty, which if you're not familiar with that, that's something that happens in the United States where it's a good example of somebody's quote-unquote rights become somebody else's obligation. You it depends on your jurisdiction and from state to state. What I had to do is go to the building, and so be ready to on call to summon a bunch of potential jurors into a courtroom from this big pool of jurors, which is like about a fixed sized, it's just how many they can fit into the jury lounge. But by the time lunchtime came around, all the courtrooms reported that they no longer they're going to call in jurors. And so there wouldn't be any new jurors picked that day. And so I went home at about halfway into the day. But previous times I've made it into a courtroom, but I didn't make it onto the jury. The prosecutor for that particular criminal case, or actually was called into a courtroom, with some hesitation, decided to use one of her finite number of objections, which to someone being on a jury, on me. I wasn't the first one that the prosecutor kicked. Like, I started off in the jury box, which doesn't really mean anything as far as when I'll be on the jury, but I started off. But usually there are people sitting in the jury box to start with, and those are the people that would be, as they're selected at random, and those are the people that would be on the jury if any of the attorneys wouldn't kick them out. But the prosecutor kicked out of a bunch of other people besides me first, but then there was a kind of a pause, and then she kicked out me. So there's something about, for that particular, details of that particular case, and my particular demographics, that made it so that the prosecution in that didn't think they would like me in that jury. Which, that's kind of interesting, but I don't know how much I should say about that. What's kind of, the judge will gives this spiel before the attorneys go through this process where they select the jurors, and the judge says, this is on a script, potential jurors should not speculate as to why they were rejected by an attorney. There are many reasons why that could happen. And I have a brain, I have a mind, and my mind thinks things and tries to make sense of its environment and the motivations and the behavior of the people around me. And it does so in order to try to figure out how to better accomplish my goals. It will be that way no matter what, and I feel no moral obligation to shut that down. So, I'm going to speculate as to why I was not on that jury. I'm going to do it. There is nothing you're going to do, nothing you can do to stop me. Anyway. Check recording one more time, and then we will go into the next case, whatever that is. This is the right one.
In a corner of that small, dark room, Sholmes and I waited with bated breath. In time, there came from the ventilator a hiss and a soft, almost growl-like sound. Suddenly, Sholmes sprang into action, lashing furiously with his cane at a point in the darkness. "You see it, Wilson?" he yelled, his tense voice reverberating through the air. I raised my dark lantern's shutter, and the room slowly came into view. Sholmes was staring intently at one particular corner when he started whispering to me. The victim's most perplexing final words. The speckled band. I believe this is the terrible coil to which she referred, Wilson. In front of us was an enormous adder, its fangs bared as it threatened to strike. It truly was the most terrible speckled band I had ever seen.
That immediately makes me go, what? Because how could the accused or who you turn about it on to not be a person? We really not do a turnabout here?
So then, let us unravel this mystery and discover what events led to this curious murder. Pray, do excuse me. The cabin door was bolted from the inside when the man was killed. No marks to suggest the bolt was tampered with in any way. So, this would appear to be a locked room mystery. In his final moments, the victim scrawled a message on the floor. Almost certainly with the ink from this upset bottle. A Russian word. So the victim was a Russian man then. And the letters are well formed, suggesting he was compos mentis at the time. This is a most extraordinary script. And evidently not penned by the same hand as this message. In fact, I deduce it was written by someone of a different nationality. This paper seal was placed just prior to the incident, by the victim himself, I would venture. Well, what have we here?
Who are you, and what do you think you're doing here?
No one must touch before maritime police come. We must wait!
Shh. That won't be necessary. You see, in less than 5 seconds from now, I will reveal the killer to you.
Which is you.
Don't be absurd. This is murder. I need cabin locked from inside.
Ah yes, the locked room. But that mystery is paper thin.
You don't mean the culprit is in there?
Who are you, and where have you come from?
I'm a great British consultant detective, the only one in the world. Sherlock Holmes. I presume you must have heard of me.
So my initial guess is Sherlock Holmes is actually the person who did the murder. Ugh, my head is throbbing. What's going on? Something's not right here. There's trouble in the air. Wait, I can't move. Wait, it's Rhinosuke again? That's lame. Why am I in handcuffs? So, you wake up now, We had to drag you out of the wardrobe. I do not believe how you could not wake up. You are true cold-blooded man. You found me then. We found you, and now you pay. Criminal. How long were you hiding in that tiny wardrobe, sorry? Now you will have been found. It is time to admit your crimes. Unless you want to find out how cold the ocean is, no, I tell you everything. There's only one thing I'd like to know from you. Isn't that... Why did you do it? Why did you take his life? Miss Susato? Wait, what did you just say? Take his life? Where is he? Where's Kazuma? Oh! Huh. Like that all over again. That's how you get, that's how, so I just thought, I didn't think that Kazuma, I think I did at the very beginning, but at the end of that trial, I didn't think that Kazuma was going to die because he simply needed to be shipped off to Great Britain, and that's how they would get him out of the scene, right? Although I think I made some comment at the very beginning about me thinking he's going to die. It was kind of ironic, but that's not really the conclusion I came to at the end. I kind of dropped that whole assumption. You pretend you do not know? You are a wolf in the sheep's pelt. You are the killer. Do not try to make excuses. What? Kazuma-sama's body was discovered not long ago. Here in this very cabin that was bolted shut from the inside. His body? Please. Do not try to tell us you are doing this terrible thing in your sleep. Kazuma's dead? But he can't be. And these handcuffs, surely you don't think I have to know. Why did you take Kazuma-sama's life? Answer me, please. Ow! Kazuma. It was just 2 short weeks ago. Are you sure about this? Won't you get in trouble? Don't you find it fun being a stowaway? Besides, how else would you come to England with me to study? It was really something else when they brought your luggage in here earlier, though. The way that Russian crewman just tossed your traveling case onto the floor. I thought I was going to die. Yeah, I still can't quite believe that. I really didn't think you'd be able to fit inside my trunk. You must be even less of a man than you look. Hey, honestly, I thought I'd broken every bone in my body. Well, it's about 50 days until we dock in Great Britain. But if you confine yourself to my cabin here, I don't expect anyone will discover you. Unless I turn up dead. That's gonna... yeah. I hope not. I get the feeling those Russians wouldn't be very forgiving of a stowaway. They're a sturdy bunch, that's for sure. What I want to know is, why do we need to keep it a secret from the young lady? From our faithful judicial assistant Miko Toba, you mean? From your close friend, more to the point, surely we could confide in her, couldn't we? I don't believe she'd give me away. No, but if she knew what we'd done, that would make her guilty by association. It's best that only you and I know about this. I suppose so. Anyway, it's about the time that the steward is supposed to come and clean the cabin. I know it's cramped, but you better get in there, I think. It won't be for long. Anyway, compared to hiding inside my traveling case, it'll be a breeze. Yes, but what if the steward decides to open the wardrobe for some reason? Then I'll be in for it. Stop worrying. I tell you what, why don't you write "keep out" or something on this piece of paper? What? Then I can stick it over the wardrobe doors once you're inside. I don't know. I've only been at sea for about 15 days. How can this have happened? We were supposed to be going on this adventure to England together. We leave you at next port. Stay quiet until then. Don't make more trouble for yourself. Murderer. No, I'm not a murderer! Da, you said before. You said you admit everything about your crimes. No, that's not right. I mean, yes, I did stow away on the ship, but... murdering my best friend. No one else could have done it. Admit the truth. Ah, Susato-san. Please tell me what happened. I need to know. Very well. But there is something I would like to ask you too. Those eyes. She looks like she's ready to destroy me. This nightmare is getting worse by the minute. I suppose all I can do is try to find out what really happened. He really has been killed, hasn't he? This isn't just a bad dream. And these handcuffs, they think I did it. They think I'm Kazuma's killer. When they found him, the cabin was locked from the inside. What do you mean? There's no access to the cabin via a porthole window, and the bolt on the door can't be operated from outside. In other words, after the crime, the culprit couldn't have escaped these 4 walls. Well, they could have used the 5th wall, or the floor, or the ceiling. What? Or to put it another way, the culprit can only have been somebody inside this cabin. Or do you have some other explanation? This is impossible. How did he die, then? What happened exactly? Are you still going to deny the charge, even despite the circumstances? Please, Osato-san, you have to tell me. The cause of death is still undetermined. They don't know how he died? The ship's doctor is examining the body, but of course he has no post-mortem analysis experience. I don't suppose we shall learn more until an expert has been consulted at our next port of call. So presumably that means there is no obvious external signs of injury then. That's true, yes. Mechanisms! Can anyone tell me what exactly happened here in this cabin? I don't understand it. Why would anyone want to kill Kazuma? Presumably, that's something you know the answer to better than anyone. Please. Whatever you say, you were here in the cabin after all. Well, yes, I was, but... He would always wake before dawn and do his training first thing in the morning. I was waiting outside his cabin as I have every day so far on this voyage. But this morning he did not come. I can sense that he wouldn't. Does that mean he was already dead when Susato-san arrived at his cabin door, I wonder? I knocked, but there was no reply. Then I started to become worried, so I went to find a member of the crew. The crewman forced the cabin door open, and when we managed to get inside, there was Kazuma-sama collapsed on the floor. Now, he doesn't speak Russian, does he? And the white tape that is now shows the white tape there now shows exactly where he was found, I suppose. I had no idea anything had happened. I must have been asleep in the wardrobe somehow. I wish it wasn't the case, but that's just very hard to believe. This is all very hard to believe for me too, trust me. I've told you everything that I know. It is my turn to ask you a question. Yes, all right. My head feels so heavy. It's still throbbing like anything. Why are you even on board the ship, Naruhodo-san? You said something before about being a stowaway, didn't you? Oh, yes. I'm afraid that's true. It's 2 weeks since we left Japan now, and I've been shut up in this cabin the entire time. I had no idea. But how could you have occupied Kazuma-sama's cabin so long without him noticing? Oh, no, that would have been impossible, obviously. Yes, of course. Kazuma invited me. He wanted us to go to England together. He actually asked you? But why? I'm afraid I don't really know the reason myself. I don't understand. Flashback. Kazuma, why do you want this? What's the real reason? Why go to such extreme lengths to smuggle me to England with you? It's an idea that's been on my mind ever since the end of that incredible trial. I think I told you then, didn't I, that you ought to become a lawyer yourself. Well, yes, you did say that. I'm becoming a lawyer the very hardest possible way, but I didn't think you were serious. You have a talent for it, I can assure you of that. but I never really thought about becoming a lawyer. Well, that's something you can decide for yourself. London is at the spearhead of cultural development, the center of the world in many ways. There can't be any harm in seeing such an important place with your own eyes, can there? Well, no, definitely not. But on a personal level, if you were to become a lawyer, then what? Nothing. Then the Phoenix Wright series would then be possible. Then we would have a game. Kazuma-sama he was always saying the same thing, that he wanted to change the Japanese legal system. Perhaps he thought that he could do that with you. Yes, maybe. But something's still bothering me a little. That look in his eyes, then. It was darker than I've ever seen it before. Susato-san. I'm sorry that we kept it a secret from you, my stowing away on the ship, I mean. If I know Kazuma-sama, I expect he was trying to protect me, to avoid me becoming guilty by association. That's exactly right, yes. We're perfect, in fact. If you're not the culprit, then tell me what happened last night here in this cabin. Well, the thing is, I don't really remember. Kazuma brought me something to eat, just like he always did. And then I got myself into that wardrobe over there, just like I always did. After that, I fell asleep? Well, yes. So deeply that you didn't even stir when Kazuma-sama was killed? Well, yes. I know it sounds unbelievable, really, I do, but it's the truth. If only I'd woken up, then perhaps I wouldn't be in this predicament. And for some reason, my head's still throbbing like anything. Really? Gas. Something wrong? Oh, no, it's... Please forget it. So Sato-san, you have to believe me. I didn't do it. I really don't want to doubt you. But the trouble is, there is no one else who could have possibly have done this. Zuma, I don't understand. Why? Why did this have to happen? I can't take this. Don't try to go anywhere. You're the perpetrator of this crime. You can't leave. I can't allow that to happen. I'm sorry. Kazuma was killed right under my nose here, and I didn't do anything to stop it. And now I'm supposed to just sit around, my hands tied, while whoever did this walks free. No, I can't allow that to happen. Well, what do you propose to do then? I'm going to investigate. I'm going to find out exactly what happened here. I'm going to work out who took Kazuma's life and how and why they did it. So I'm sorry, but you're going to have to excuse me. What the? That was a Susato takedown. A Susato what? What martial art form is that? I'm going to need you to prove it. Sorry, prove it? Yes, your innocence. I need evidence. But how am I supposed to? Have you forgotten already? What you achieved just a few weeks ago? You successfully defended yourself in a court of law. I see, but they presented evidence. She's expecting me to present some conclusive evidence. I have to get Susato-san to believe me. I'll show her some evidence right now that proves I'm not guilty of this awful crime. I mean... yeah, this makes sense, because if this was over top of the door of the wardrobe, if he got out of the wardrobe, there's no way, like, put it this way, he could not have put this on the outside of the wardrobe while inside the wardrobe. So you can't go back into the wardrobe after killing Kazuma and this be on the wardrobe.
Yes!
Tell me, when I was discovered in the wardrobe before, was this piece of paper stuck over the doors? Oh, yes it was. I remember clearly. I thought so. Kazuma almost put this in place whenever I went to sleep in there, just in case the cabin steward or another crew member decided to look inside. So naturally, he did the same last night as well. Ah. Yes, of course. The gentleman who discovered your peeled that sign from the wardrobe doors before he opened them. But if I were truly the culprit, I couldn't have climbed back inside the wardrobe and stuck this on the outside doors on my own. Yes, that's quite true. In other words, it's impossible that I killed Kazuma. Well, even if you are sprawled hopelessly on the floor, I can see why Kazuma-sama thought so highly of you. Thank you, Susato-san. Now, do you think perhaps you could help me up? Well, in light of that evidence, I don't see any reason why I should stop you from investigating in here at least. Thank you. So you finally believe me? I'm sorry, no. What? I'm not sure yet. I can't rule out the possibility that she used some sort of conjuring trick to put the sign back in position. What does she think I am, a magician? For now, I suggest you investigate as thoroughly as possible in here. I'll do the same. Alright, let's get to work, Susato-san. Please don't misunderstand me. I still have my doubts. Oh. I shall be watching you to make sure you do nothing that might disturb the crime scene. I wouldn't want you using your conjuring tricks to destroy evidence, for example. Right. Of course, the plot thing is that Susato knows that Ranosuke didn't do it, period, and she's just kind of messing with them. Well, anyway, I should make a start on investigating in here, examine everything I can. Oh yeah, because you have to do the tutorial on how to investigate now. Kazuma, I swear, I will avenge your death. Let's examine this useless thing to examine. Perhaps I should see what this Russian crewman makes at the scene of the crime. Excuse me. What? I was wondering how it's going, the investigation, I mean. Grandmother told me Japanese people do not make jokes, but it is not true, I see. Sorry? The criminal asked the investigator for information about his crime. Very funny. Oh, it wasn't supposed to be a joke. He doesn't appear to be laughing either. He's convinced you're guilty. You might have useful information, though. I have to keep trying. So, last night, did you notice anything out of the ordinary at all? Nit. Of course not. Go back to the corner of the room and make silent. I say no more to you. Did I hit a nerve? Just for a minute there, he seemed a little flustered. Oh dear, that won't do. Oh, what's the matter, Sato-san? Whenever I'm examining things, I always find myself so focused I forget to look around properly. Ah yes, that's not good. I don't suppose you're so foolish as me in that regard, are you, Naruhodo-san? Oh. Yes, let's do that. I suppose my field of vision has been rather small until now. Saigi, the Japanese word for justice. The brushstrokes are straight and true, just like Kazuma. Yes, his calligraphy always was a reflection of his heart. Yet can you really look at those characters without feeling shame, knowing who drew them so thoughtfully? Of course I can. I mean, I'm innocent, so why shouldn't I be able to? Even though you stowed away on the ship? Now you're going to bring that up, are you? I can't win. Can I examine this? No chair. This looks kind of funky here. I don't even know what that is. Knife. Oh. That's my dinner from last night, a roast chicken. It was really tasty. Yes, it was very delicious, wasn't it? But, did you eat it on the floor here? I'm not a dog, Susato-san. I ate at the table, of course. Which begs the question of when and how the plate ended up on the floor. But Kazuma-sama didn't like chicken at all, did he? No, that's right, so he didn't touch it. Which meant all the more for me. Oh no, does that mean... poor Kazuma-sama spent his last night on this earth with an empty belly? Just too horrible. Now I suddenly have a guilty conscience and an achy stomach. I don't think it really matters, actually. Why is the knife, like, not something of... Anyway. Why is the katana... Oh, there we go. Seriously, that should matter. As Kazuma-sama's precious sword, he never went anywhere without it. Yes, he was always saying that a Japanese man's katana is his soul. I believe he had to work very hard to convince the government to allow him to bring it on this trip. I suppose that shows just how important it was to him. And now he's gone, but I'm not ready to let his spirit go just yet. This is important. What do you think this is? Skid mark. Does it look like a broken piece of glassware? Whatever the thing was, it appears to have broken clean into two. The glass is such a beautiful color. It looks like a cute little Netsuke fastener from a kimono outfit. I'm not sure that sounds like Kazuma. He wouldn't have secretly carried a cute little trinket like this around with him, would he? And the mark beside it, what is this, I wonder? It's a sort of brick-like hue. Yes, you're right, it is the color of brick, isn't it? Even though I don't see anything of the same color anywhere else in the cabin. Are you just checking something? Did Kazuma write that before he died? It looks like it's written in ink. He must have knocked the ink pot from the desk when he collapsed on the floor. Then I suppose he wrote this message by dipping his finger in the spillage? Poor Kazuma-sama, no doubt he was in terrible pain. It's almost unbearable to imagine it. Except, he doesn't know Russian, does he? I suppose he was trying to leave some kind of a clue in his final moments, was he? Okay, in Ace Attorney, stuff written in final moments is essentially almost always wrong. Unlike some other game. I'm sorry, partner, but I can't read your writing. I don't think that's Japanese, Naruto-san. What? Then what language is it? It pains me to admit it, but I don't know. It's not a foreign script I'm familiar with. What does it mean, I wonder? It's Greek, isn't it? Like, the Sherlock Holmes guy said it was Russian, but it looks, well... Russian is just like an extension of the Roman alphabet. It's a very large traveling case, isn't it? Yes, it carries a lot of memories for me. Memories? What do you mean? Well, that's actually how I stowed away in this vessel I was brought on board inside that case. Ah yes, I see. It says "this way up" in Japanese. Which in hindsight, I should have realized the foreign crewman wouldn't be able to read. I was turned over and over, and then I was tossed on the floor in here. Oh dear, being a stowaway isn't as romantic as it sounds. Well, it was less painful than a Susato takedown. This is where dear Kazuma-sama would have sat whenever he was writing. London Diary. Poor Kazuma, he didn't even make it to his destination. It looks as though the last entry is incomplete. Which means, what? He was in the middle of writing it when the incident happened? Let's see what it says. It could be a valuable clue. Let's out of the question. What? Kazuma-sama may have departed this world, but we must not read his private thoughts. But what if it's something important, something relevant to the case? Alright, I won't read it. That's stupid. Well, it's gonna get read eventually. Poor Kazuma-sama. I don't like prying into people's personal matters either. But in this case, isn't the need for clues more important? Here we go. I think that's some kind of opening, a ventilator. A hole through which fresh air can circulate into the cabin. Or, nosh gas that kills you, but did not quite kill Ryanosuke because he was in the wardrobe. Isn't that a little odd? What do you mean? Well, this ventilator, if that's what it is, looks like it must connect to the next door cabin. Yes, it would appear to, you're right. But if its purpose is to allow fresh air into the room, surely it would have been connected to the outside. That's true. Perhaps it's so that the rain and spray don't find their way in when the seas are rough, or something like that. I suppose maybe that's it. What's that? He wasn't there a minute ago. As far as I can tell, it looks like he might be European. Oh, how did he... You've noticed the man too, haven't you? I have no idea who he is or how he got in here, but he looks suspicious and tall, and suspiciously tall. Naruto-san, don't tell me. Do you really not know who that is? Well, no, I don't have any foreign friends or acquaintances at all. He doesn't look like a member of the crew. There's something very unusual about him. And is he investigating Kazuma's desk, or is he just playing on it? I can't tell. Well, in that case, we simply must talk with him. Am I just imagining it, or does Sasato-san look almost uncontrollably excited? By the way, I expect that you've noticed already, but just in case. If you press space on people when they're in the crosshairs, you can converse with them. Alright then, I'll get that suspiciously tall gentleman in my sights and see what he has to say for himself. Oh, please do. No, I won't. I will do something else. It's some 2 weeks since we set sail from Japan. Have you really been living in that wardrobe the entire time, Naruhodo-san? I think living isn't quite the right description. Oh, no, I suppose not. Although, it must have been rather exciting making this voyage in your own secret hideout. The trouble was, I never knew when a member of the crew might come in. So yes, I did basically have to live in the wardrobe. And last night was no exception. But because of that, you had no idea what was happening out here in the cabin. No, sadly not. Books have fallen over on the shelf. Look, they've all toppled the same way. And what's this? A statue of some god of the sea, although he's fallen over as well. Yeah, it's almost as if the whole shelf has been ransacked and everything mowed down at once. Wonder if... perhaps it was Kazuma-sama doing his morning sword training, do you think? Nope, it's gotta be important to the case, so it can't be. I seriously doubt it. Then perhaps... it was you, Naruhodo-san, in a fit of rage. I wouldn't have bothered leaving the wardrobe just to mess up a few books and a statue. Could the way these things have been thrown about have anything to do with the case, I wonder? Yes. Well, I'll just set everything straight again. I don't like to see a mess. No, don't do that. That gets rid of evidence. You're an idiot. What? That was stupid. These are the rules of passage for travel aboard the SS Burya. It's essentially a list of requests from the captain to all passengers on board. Passengers must not keep weapons or other dangerous objects in their cabins. Pets are also strictly forbidden. What? Why are you staring at me? Oh, sorry. I was just thinking. Well, Naru... You're thinking Naruhodo had both of those things? Are you more of a dangerous object or a pet? I can't decide. Well, one thing's for sure. Either way, I wasn't supposed to be in here. Okay, now I've exhausted everything else, it appears. Now I'll finally actually do this. Excuse me. Excuse me, do you have a moment? Shh. This is a critical point in my investigation. Maybe I should leave him alone. He seems a little unfriendly. Yes, perhaps that would be for the best. Greetings, I hope you haven't kept you long. Ah! What exactly were you doing on Kazuma's desk just now? Ah, I see. Fascinating. Sorry, what do you see? Feels like he's looking right through me. Oh yes, everything is clear now. The train of reasoning has run its course. My deductions have crystallized. You Afghanistan, I perceive. Just recently returned, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry? What? And now, whilst venturing toward the foreign climes, you find yourself in a most troubling predicament. Oh, well that's true at least. But how? How the deuce I know that, perhaps? What? It was really a most elementary deduction, hardly worth explaining. Have you perhaps managed to deduce anything else? But of course, a great many things. There is no mystery, my dear madame. For example, have you fled your native land of Russia, being as you are a merciless revolutionary? You leave 16 victims of assassination in your wake, can now travel to England to blow up the Crystal Tower. And when the bare-boned occupant of this very cabin discovered your identity, you ended his life too. Yes, I believe that summarizes the facts beautifully. That's actually a really stretchy induction. No need to hide the truth now, nothing deceives these eyes. Just to be clear, you are talking about me, are you? Certainly I am. Do you see another in this cabin who fits the bill? A Russian assassin with 16 victims to his name? Maybe you. I don't even see one person who fits the bill. So it's true. It was you who did this to Kazuma-sama. What? And you're plotting a revolution too. It's shameful behavior, Naruhodo-san. Absolutely wicked. No, listen, there's no way Now explain yourself. Tell me everything. This is ridiculous. How could you do it? For pity's sake, open your eyes. I'm not a Russian revolutionary, obviously. Oh, forgive me. As for you, what kind of deduction was that? You were just saying the first thing that came into your head. Ah, but was I not right? Whilst venturing toward foreign climes, you do find yourself in a most troubling predicament, do you not? Well, yes, maybe. There you have it, you see. What do you make of that, hmm? Well, to be honest, this ship is en route to England, and I'm in handcuffs at the scene of a murder. So, I'm not really sure you could call it deduction. It's more plain observation. Indeed, an observation, my dear boy, is the basis of all deduction. My method is founded upon the observation of trifles, you see. I announce my findings with a brassy certitude. And more often than not, I'm right. Ha! I don't think you introduced yourself. Ah, my apologies. Now, how remiss of me. I am no other than the greatest detective of the century, known to men and women the world over. The inimitable Sherlock Holmes. So it's really you, the actual Sherlock Holmes? The very same, the inimitable actual Sherlock Holmes. Well, he's either not Sherlock Holmes, which is extremely likely, and he did it, which is also extremely likely. Do you know this man, Susato-san? The most famous detective in the world, Naruhodo-san? Of course I do. There's nobody who hasn't heard of him. What planet have I been living on, then? We must ask him what he's deduced. He will have worked out the entire case already, I'm sure. Really? Why do I feel uneasy about this? Sure. Before we started talking, you were examining Kazuma's desk, weren't you? Kazuma, yes, the victim. Did you notice anything useful? Anything at all? Observe for a moment the desktop of the victim. You see that the victim was engaged in pinning some text. London diary. Kazuma was keeping notes of the trip. But I don't think you should read his private writings. It could upset people. Tragic. That's something you ought to perhaps illocate before the act of reading. You mean you've read it already? Oh, that solves that problem. It's my business to know what other people do not. Yes, believe it or not, I know a smattering of Japanese. Oh, I see. Well, I was gonna make up something that's completely baloney then, but okay. Well, you're about to know what a Susato takedown is. Susato-san, aren't you going to throw the detective with one of your trademark takedowns? I'm sorry, Naruhodo-san. What on earth do you mean? Have you ever heard of something called the double standard? Life is so unfair. Anyway, to return to the matter at hand, namely this diary belonging to the victim. It would appear the final sentence is incomplete, as if the author were cut short. Tell me, what is the nature of the writing? Afraid to be precise as to details. Oh, but I thought you knew Japanese. A smattering, dear boy, a smattering. Sayonara, bonsai, mikado, nadu nadu, I trust you're suitably impressed. No desu. But this diary is, no, baka. But this diary is littered with complicated looking characters, of which I can read precisely none. Called kanji, obviously. So what was all that showing off about before then? If you would be so kind as to show me, I would be happy to read it to you, Mr. Sholmes. I'm much obliged, my dear madam. Final entry here in Kazuma-sama's diary consists of just two short sentences. First reads, 1:23 a.m. I can hear a faint whistling sound. A whistling sound? So I presume that Roundosuke is speaking English in here, right? These are very deep waters. Pray go on. Second sentence reads, 1:35 a.m. What looks like some sort of speckled band is dangling from the ventilator grill. Oh, that solves the locked room mystery. Okay, he was bitten by a snake. A speckled band. What on earth does that mean? I have no idea. I have never heard that expression before. The ventilator grill, you say? The man was presumably referring to the lattice there on the wall, which connects to the adjoining cabin. Yes, the adjoining cabin. Kazuma's diary has been entered into the court record. Have you managed to deduce anything about this particular case yet? Have I managed to deduce anything? My dear fellow, I deduced that the victim died. How do you suppose discovered the culprit? What? Who do you suppose discovered the culprit in this most cunning hiding place? That's right. There's none other than the great detective before you now, Mr. Herlock Sholmes. Ah, I see. In other words, I'm in these now because of him. When I became anxious about Kazuma-sama this morning, I summoned all the crew members to force the cabin door open. And I concealed myself among their number, gaining entry to the scene of the crime. Yes, luckily for everyone, the great detective Herlock Sholmes was on board. That's not a very auspicious whatever. That's very auspicious. I don't know how to use the word auspicious. How do you conceal yourself amongst people looking like that? And the handcuffs seem to have been an excellent fit, Mr. Naruhodo. The very moment I laid my eyes on the scene, 2 facts are immediately apparent to me. Oh really? 2 facts, you say? Mr. Sholmes, tell us, please, what 2 facts were apparent to you when you came into the cabin this morning? Ah, yes, but first, let us be precise. The 2 facts in question were immediately apparent to me. Yes, I understand, but what were they? Allow me to elucidate. The 2 facts I deduced from a mere momentary glance at the scene of the crime were as follows. Number 1, the cabin was locked from within, rendering escape of the culprit out of the question. Number 2, the victim was Russian and killed following a dispute with an acquaintance. Hold on, Mr. Sholmes, what made you think the victim was Russian? As there was a dying message left by the victim on the floor. What makes you think that you literally looked at his diary? You... This is stupid. That is the Russian word for wardrobe. So this isn't a delta, it's a, whatever you call that character. Do you really think Kazuma-sama could have left a dying message in Russian? In their final moments, many find their native tongue filling their head. For this young man, Russian. Kazuma was Russian, was he? Initially, I considered Garderob may be the name of a killer, a certain Robert Garda, perhaps. But in the interest of thoroughness, I decided it would be wrong not to look inside the wardrobe, there at least, where you found Mr. Naruhodo sleeping soundly. Quite so, I found you, the renowned Russian revolutionary killer. Why is it that I'm Russian too? I observed that you are wearing the same attire as the victim. In other words, you were acquainted. And if my memory serves, that outfit is the traditional dress of the Russian people. Actually, it's a Japanese school uniform. Are school uniforms the traditional dress of the Russian people? I had no idea. And I had no idea a detective could get something so wrong. I took a photograph of the victim and the message that I might analyze it for possible hidden details. This was taken immediately after the young man was discovered, before the body was removed. Yes, Kazuma had already been taken away when I woke up. This is the first time I've actually seen him like this. So it's not good enough to say that a snake bit him, and that's how the culprit managed to kill him without entering his room. Because somebody also had to write this message. This is not a very tight case, though, so it's like very loose. Are you alright, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, yes, thank you. Photograph of the crime scene has been entered into the court record. Can I ask you something, Mr. Sholmes? I'm gonna check something again. Something has been checked. Oops. What, pray? You mentioned Russia before as well, didn't you? You know, when you said I was a fearsome revolutionary fleeing from Russia and all of that. Yes, the train of reasoning that led me to the truth. Would you mind explaining that train of reasoning to me, do you think? Certainly, if it interests you. I don't know what the phonology of that is. How many times I'm not Russian and I don't speak Russian? Can we talk about your deduction before? The thing you concluded about me, I mean. Ah, the now famous, accurate, troubling predicament you find yourself in. Actually, it was the other details about, details I was more hoping to discuss. You know, the merciless Russian revolutionary and assassin of 16 part. Ah yes, the more sordid details. It was a fairly commonplace deduction. Here we have this morning's paper. The main headline reads, Revolutionary villain Horshvik flees Russia via Shanghai. This vessel made a port call at Shanghai yesterday, and last night the young Russian was murdered. Oh! So this makes some sense then. Since when was Kazuma a Russian? It sounds like Mr. Sholmes has concluded he was Russian because of what Kazuma-sama wrote on the floor. It was a simple act of reasoning to realize that the culprit in this crime was the same merciless revolutionary. One who would kill the very man who helped him to escape after his true identity was discovered. Yes, you, violent Bolshevik. No, how could this be me? I don't look anything like this man. Just look at his face. Well, you are a fearsome revolutionary after all. Therefore, you have no doubt learned to revolutionize your appearance as well. Please. And I might add, your name does not appear on the ship's passenger list. Need I say more? Well, that's because I'm a stowaway. What about the other details? The 16 victims of assassination and blowing up the Crystal Tower. Ah yes, the journalist clearly interviewed the man and printed all those particulars in the article. The deeds the man has perpetrated thus far, and those he is plotting. Yes, everything about this revolutionary Bolshevik was included. There can be no mistake. Do you revolutionaries usually agree to interviews with newspaper reporters, I wonder? Do. And what about the part where you said I was just returning from Afghanistan? Also quite clearly stated here in the article. Bolshevik was recently returned after a period of subversive activities in a war-torn region of Afghanistan. Where even is it anyway? This Afghanistan place. Okay! Here, take the paper for yourself. A little memento of this great deduction. Just last year, everyone became aware of where Afghanistan is, if they weren't aware already. Oh, thank you. I observed all of that I've absorbed all that is of interest to me within its pages, but I see no rubbish bin nearby. The article about the revolutionary has been entered into the court record. And you may find the article on the back page of interest as well. On the back? Cast your eye over it sometime, and if the interest takes you, though you may need someone to interpret. Basically, you're going to end up doing that during the trial. It's all written in Russian. I couldn't hope to read it. But I suppose it wouldn't hurt just to glance at the article. Maybe there might be a picture or two. So, you're a great detective, are you? Sorry, what was your name again? Indeed, I am no other than the one and only Herlock Sholmes. Oh, I see. You're German? Herlock, was it? No, I have no hair. I mean, I have hair. Please call me Sholmes. You can read all about my exploits in this exciting London publication. Oh yes, the Rants magazine, full of wonderful stories and interest articles from Great Britain. I never miss an issue. I have it sent from England especially. Ah yes, here it is, The Adventures of Herlock Sholmes. So, you're the protagonist in a series of short stories then? Indeed I am. And you've read so many of your own stories, you start to think you really are a detective. Make no mistake, I'm not the poor deluded fellow you make me for. Your inference is backward. Backward? My trusty biographer records my greatest detecting achievements and chronicles them in the magazine. You have a biographer, do you? It's gonna be... What? Doesn't everyone? Mine goes by the name of Dr. Wilson, presently keeping shop in London. I thought it was Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Not Dr. Wilson, but whatever. Dr. Wilson? Is that the guy that was killed? I must say, thanks to that publication, I've been fantastically busy of late. Why, this very moment I am returning from Asia, having solved the mystery of a cursed royal crown. Really? I can't work out whether I should take this man seriously or not. Deduction, you see, is to me a science, logical reasoning in its purest form. A science? Really? The astute observer notices even the most subtle of reactions in his subject. A furtive glance, a twitch of a muscle, a slight inclination of the posture. Fingernails, arm sleeves, furrows in the skin. All these things are data. Right. And the trained magician makes deductions from this data in the blink of an eye. You don't make deductions from data, you make correlations. Which you don't really make, you just plug and chug. The ultimate conclusion is, without fail, the truth. As I demonstrated only a few short moments ago, how can he look me in the eye and claim that? So you see, I have a turn both for observation and for deduction and fame. That is what makes me the one and only Herlock Sholmes. So, I believe I've given you enough to consider for the time being, at least. Do you have somewhere to go? As it happens, the victim's writings in his diary have piqued my interest. The matter warrants further investigation, I believe, and I am still too long. The seasickness takes hold. And if I am, I suppose. Just thinking of investigating the cabin next door, which the ventilator connects to. Great detectives are a curious breed. Our minds rebel at stagnation. We crave mental exaltation. So yes, I intend to investigate, hence the truth will become clear soon enough. Do you think perhaps we could go with you? No, that would be somewhat complicated. What? But why? A simple glance at your wrist should reveal the answer. Oh, these. After all, you're the prime suspect in this matter. No? There's no point trying to turn it into a question. You're the one who decided I was the culprit in the first place. Whatever do you mean? I have no recollection of naming you as the culprit at any point. You must be joking. You just said it only a moment ago. Dear me, you are clearly misguided. I would have no cause to say such a thing. Well, actually, Mr. Sholmes, I did hear you say that too. You're quite sure? Well, that's very strange. I wouldn't have said you had the face of a criminal, you know. Not really. So what, were you looking at my knees before? Some great detective you are. Well, anyway, that was then and this is now. What do you mean? What I mean, sir, is this. If you are the culprit, then you must play the part more convincingly. Roll over and accept your fate. Now he's just being plain rude. And off he goes, having just laughed in my face. His sense of humor as twisted as his name. Naruto-san, what are you doing standing here for? We must go and investigate the cabin next door as well. Aren't you forgetting something? What about these? There's no way I can... I mean, they're just on your hands. After Kazuma-sama spent his dying moments struggling to leave a clue, you're willing to give up? They're even, like, handcuffed in front of you. You're just going to roll over and accept your fate? Yes, literally. And as if you gave me a choice in the rolling over part. I think we still have some investigating to finish off in here first, don't we? Let's carry on examining what we can in this cabin while we wait for a chance to slip next door. Good idea. The situation doesn't look very good to me, but there are still things I can do to help myself. And I owe it to Kazuma to do everything I can to find a way out of this, and bring the real culprit to justice. Can I reinvestigate this guy now that we've done all that? Yes, I can. Excuse me. What? I was wondering if I could ask you a favor. Would you mind if I investigate a little outside? Grandmother told me Japanese people do not make jokes, but it is not true, I see. Sorry? The criminal asking prison guard to help him escape. Very funny. We are in the middle of the sea. There is no chance of me escaping. Net, you stay in this cabin until next port. Then it is up to Hong Kong police to decide what they do with you. You stay. Alright. There's no point trying to appeal to this man's better nature, that's for sure. When I went for help and the crewman forced the door open, this bolt had been firmly closed. It's quite a small bolt and not particularly sturdy, and it just slides across to secure the door shut. But still, with the door bolted, there would be no way to get in or out of the cabin, that's for sure. It's no wonder everyone suspects me. When she glares at me like that, I feel tinsel up and down my spine. I remember reading once in a detective novel. The culprit used a needle and thread to draw a bolt across from outside the room in a situation like this. Yes, that's a clever trick, isn't it? I'm an avid reader of detective stories myself. But the door of this cabin and its frame are made of metal, and they seal together perfectly. There would be no possibility of using that needle and thread trick here, I'm afraid. When she glares at me like that, I feel pins and needles all up and down my spine. Oh, look over there. The crewman, do you mean? He wasn't there before, was he? Well, look, it looks like we have the what do you call it? I forgot what the title is. He's a detective of a different sort. The guy who coughs up blood. That's what I thought. Why don't we try talking to him? Probably because I'm likely to get yelled at again. But I suppose I could try. Is that something wrong, Naruhodo-san? Oh no, it's just that crewman standing by the door. I can't help but feeling like I've seen him somewhere before. Oh yes, you're right. He does look familiar. Excuse me, sir. Yes, what can I do for you? I recognize that face, but it can't be. It is. I didn't know you were here, Inspector Hosonaga. Inspector, there we go. I somehow do not accumulate bloodstains on my outfit. Hello again. What are you doing here? I think that should be my line. I was so stunned when I saw you, my heart stopped. Nearly stopped, I hope. I received some special orders to go undercover as a member of the crew and board the ship. Again? Oh, because of the Russian guy who killed 16 people or whatever. You certainly seem to enjoy undercover work, Inspector. If there's anything I can do to help you, please ask. I never expected to see this man on board, but perhaps his presence can help me out of this helpless situation. This is where dear Kazuma-sama would have sat whenever he was writing. London Diary. Poor Kazuma, he didn't even make it to his destination. Last entry that he made is such a mystery. 1 1:23 a.m. I can hear a faint whistling sound. 1:35 a.m. What looks like some sort of speckled band is dangling from the ventilator grill. What on earth could it all mean? A speckled band from the ventilator. We really do need to get into the cabin next door, seeing as that's where the ventilator connects to. Yes, I agree with you. Already checked. Oh. This is... Yes, it's a bell cord contraption, I think. Oh, this okay, that makes this very Sherlock Holmes-ish. What do you mean, contraption? I read about it in a book I was studying that talked about life in Great Britain. Large households often have bell cords like this, which you can pull to ring a bell to summon servants. Really? That sounds almost magical. Shall we give it a little try? Yes, in the interest of cultural research, obviously. I suppose nobody comes for lowly Japanese people. Oh no, I'm sure it's just that everyone is busy, that's all. Ah! There's nothing on this table at all. Plate and cutlery are all over the floor for some reason. Yes, it's strange. Last night when I went to sleep, I'm sure everything was still... No, wait a minute. What is it? That's funny. I can't seem to remember anything about what happened after dinner at all. You've been kinda gassed. So then perhaps you are responsible for what happened to Kazuma-sama. No. And just forgot about it. Okay. Try looking in here for things. Afraid I can't read a word of Russian. No, me neither. I have no idea what any of this says. The pair of you floundering is a sorry sight. Allow me to offer some assistance. The article on the front page of this newspaper is concerned with a fearsome Russian revolutionary. It reads, Revolutionary Violin Bolshevik flees Russia via Shanghai. Yes, you told us that before. It reveals also that those who see the man's beard with their own eyes never live to tell the tale. Oh my goodness, he is fearsome. Well, presumably the newspaper photographer was alright, wasn't he? The solution is obvious, of course. If he despises his beard to that degree, he need only shave it off. I'm not quite sure that's the problem, Mr. Sholmes. Did give me a red check mark, so I clicked it again. Okay. This is very useful. This is very useful, sarcastically. You drew the characters on this paper seal, didn't you, Naruhodo-san? They are such bold, vivid strokes you made. You're looking at a man who came abroad inside a trunk. Those brushstrokes needed to make a statement. If they found me in that wardrobe, those Russians would have hurled me into the freezing cold ocean. I'm sure none of the crewmen would have done anything like that. Well, I'm not so sure. They would have forced you to wash dishes in the gallery until you were on death's door or something like that. Wash dishes until I was on death's door? That's a lot of dishes. Oh, the symbol of Yume University. Every student wears this pin with pride. It's funny, but most emblems seem to be either round or rectangular. I like this spike design, even though it doesn't really make any sense. Although it does cause problems, lots of students end up cutting their fingers on the badges. Perhaps it was the idea of one of the founders. A sharp pin for a sharp mind or something. Okay, just that investigating that. Oh. Your special orders this time, Inspector. Yes, and why are you dressed as a member of the crew? I'm so sorry. This is all my fault. I take full responsibility. For what? My orders were to act as Asogi-san's bodyguard. It was Minister of Justice Jigoku who pushed for this overseas study tour to go ahead. And he entrusted me with ensuring that Asogi-san reached Great Britain without being assassinated. Assassinated? How could that even have been a possibility? I'm not sure. But these are complicated times. There are tensions between the world's greatest powers. Minister Jigoku said we should be prepared for all eventualities. This is incredible. I don't believe it. Kazuma-sama was assassinated. Obviously, we couldn't give Asogi-san a visible security escort. Which is why I'm undercover now, posing as one of the crew. I see. And I didn't take my eyes off him the entire time we've been on board, from morning until night, every day. But I never imagined it would happen here, inside his own cabin, not here in the first class on the first class deck. I failed miserably at my assignment, and Asogi-san is dead as a result. As I'm a disgrace. All I can do is humbly apologize. Inspector. So if there's anything at all that I can do to help now, Just say the word. Oops. There's like animations that makes the speed go at some limit. I can't make the speed go. I can't make the text go in an instant. 3D sprites and their problems. There needs to be a skip in this. Okay. Doing what we can to investigate Kazuma's death ourselves. I thought you might be... You didn't do it, did you? You're not the killer. Of course not. We'd really like to investigate the cabin next door. Yes, so we need to be allowed out of this cabin. I'm sorry, but you've been deemed a risk to the ship's safety. If you move to even touch the handle of the cabin door, a stormy-looking seaman in there would surely snap your neck in two. I suppose I'm not just a stowaway now, they think I'm a murderer as well. Would it be possible to give me something to work with, do you think? I'm going to need something persuasive. What do you mean? If I had a solid reason why the next door cabin should be investigated, for example, I'd do everything I could to persuade the captain to allow it. Really, I'd lay my life on the line if I had to. But I don't see how. Maybe a way. What? Really? Think of how you tried to persuade me of your innocence, Naruhodo-san, presenting me with a piece of evidence that you already had in your possession. Evidence? It's just the same as when you are in court. You must have done it many times during your trial. Simply select the present panel and choose some evidence that it's okay. That's too slow. Control mix-ups. Okay, I press Z. There we go. What's that? It's Kazuma's diary. Just before he died, Kazuma-sama wrote something rather strange in his diary. Strange? In what way? He wrote, what looks like some kind of speckled band is dangling from the ventilator grill. A speckled band? That is strange. Yes, we are still trying to work out what he meant by that, but what I'd like to know is... Don't tell me the ventilator, is it? You're very astute, Inspector. That ventilator clearly joins to the next door cabin. That's right, so if we could investigate in there, we'd be able to work out what the speckled band was. Alright then. I can't leave this cabin at the moment. I'm stuck here until we arrive at the next port. The captain has given me strict orders to guard the scene of the crime, you see. I'll have to entrust the investigation to you. Really? You're willing to do that? Yes, as long as you don't leave the first-class cabin area. I'm afraid I can't remove those handcuffs, though. But what about the captain? Aren't you going against his direct orders? Ahem. I'm a man of my word. And I promise you that I'll lay my life on the line if that's what it takes to convince the captain. After all, I failed to keep Asogi-san safe. This is the least I can do. Thank you. Let's seize the moment then, Naruhodo-san. Just like move and we can leave this cabin at last. And how do you get past the Russian guy? I don't know. Okay, keep going. Well, I'm finally out of that cabin. I have to admit, this isn't quite what I was expecting. It's less spacious out here than I thought it would be. And this is the most luxurious accommodation? Yes, indeed. Kazuma-sama was being sent on this study tour by the government. That's why he was being put up in a first-class cabin. Even still, this is about twice as large as my accommodation in steerage. Really? That must be awful. Oh, look over there. That's another crewman keeping watch, and he looks enormous, even if he is sitting down. The door next to him leads to the second-class accommodation. I suppose he's making sure no one comes in here who shouldn't. I suppose... like people in handcuffs? Naruhodo-san, you look like a little boy visiting a toy shop for the first time. I would have thought you'd be used to the ship by now. We've been at sea for 2 weeks already. Oh yes, I know, but the thing is, I was inside Kazuma's trunk when I first came aboard. Ever since then, I've been shut up inside that little wardrobe. It must have been a very trying time for you. Please, don't give me that pitying look. Okay. Excuse me, but could I ask you something? You little stowaway murderer? That wasn't a good start, was it? Alright, let me try instead. Good day, Mr. Sailor. I'm sorry to trouble you, but could I perhaps ask something of you? You little third-class lady maid? Third-class lady's maid? Oh. Oh. We seem to have caught this sailor on a bad day, Susato-san. I'm not Sailor. My mother gave me a name. I'm senior crewman Biff Stroganoff. That's a good... The name puns are finally happening. Ugh, the best thing is just to avoid eye contact, I think. Go for it. Mr. Stroganoff, about this first-class cabin area. Here we are in finest part of Burya steamship for very important persons. What sort of very important persons? Government officials, kings and queens traveling in secret. Many important persons. That is why I am always guarding this place. Gosh, that's amazing. But somehow I let stupid stowaway inside. I want to pick you up and throw you in ocean, but Stroganoff is not animal. Thank you. If I may, I was wondering. is the cabin next to Mr. Asogi's currently occupied. Ah. Susato-san, did you understand that? It sounded like da. I think it's probably Russian for yes or no. Well, no is yet, so probably yes. Genius. It's not permitted to visit. It is not permitted to visit other cabins without invitation. Well, it sounds like there is somebody in the next door cabin, at least. Yes, it's tantalizing. Could you tell us who's traveling in the cabin next to Mr. Asogi's? His name is Mr. Grimesby Roylott. He is a very important Western gentleman. It would also be really lame if this guy was the culprit. Anyway, a Western gentleman. Do not think about it. He has nothing to do with murder or student boy. How can you be so sure about that? Mr. Roylott is authentic Western gentleman. Such a man would have no interest in lowly student from insignificant Far East Islands. That was harsh. Could you tell us when Mr. Roylott came aboard? That is not your business. Kind of think of it. Even though we've been at sea for 2 weeks now, and I've been in Kazuma's cabin the entire time, I never once heard anything from the next door cabin, or felt like there's anyone there. Well, presumably, since this gentleman is occupying one of the first-class cabins, he must be rather important, is that right? That is not your business. Are you on watch here all the time, Seaman Stroganoff? Da, all time. So criminals like you cannot come in or get out. I wonder, could you tell us anything about last night at all? It is said about Student Boy. Were you on watch last night as well? Of course. And did you notice anything at the time? Anything unusual? Hit. Susato-san, did you understand that? It was clearly a no. I saw nothing unusual, nothing at all. And you didn't hear any strange noises or sense anything was wrong in some way? I said no. Sorry. I'm not sure. I could have sworn that he wouldn't catch my eye for a moment there. This is enough. I can't say more now. Oh. It is time for me to report to Captain. You must return to cabin. Yes, all right. Bulkhead to second-class area is staying locked at all times. You escaped, then the lobster whistles on top of the mountain. Or as English say, when the pigs fly. Yes, I understand. Well, he left. There's your opportunity. Good. Now we can investigate this area properly, shall we? Definitely. That's the way to the second-class area of the ship. Is something wrong? I was thinking about making a run for it, just for a moment. Things aren't exactly going well for me. I might be wrong, but I imagine the moment you reach for the handle of the door, the burly seaman would surely shoot you dead. Oh dear, I'm sorry. Perhaps I went a little too far there. No, I started it with my talk of running away. And there's no way I could run away while Kazuma's death remains a mystery anyway. stool's not interesting. These horns aren't interesting. Here we go. That book on top of the table there really is huge. There's a pin with it, too. Yes, I'm sure that's the ship's log. Shall we have a little look through it? Writing is so neat and precise, every detail about the voyage has been meticulously recorded. You wouldn't expect a rough and ready sailor to have such beautiful handwriting. New character. Anyway, look here. Last night's log is mostly blank. Presumably that means there was nothing to report. Very well. This looks like a plan of the SS Bureau. It shows each deck. Look. The Bureau is a large-scale steamship with a triple-skinned hull. What a marvel of engineering. Yeah, triple-skinned is kind of rare. Well, it's been playing on my mind for a while now, actually, but how is it that such a huge lump of metal doesn't just sink to the bottom of the ocean? Well, have you heard of Archimedes' principle? Yes, the metal is denser than water, but the amount of volume of water that has to be displaced for the ship to sink further into the sea. I'm not explaining this very well. The ship is made of both air. The volume is composed of air and metal. The average density of that volume is less than the density of water. So you have to displace water much more than the volume of metal, because of the way the metal is shaped. It's really quite simple, Naruto-san. It is. Well, consider the Japanese archipelago. The islands of Japan? Yes, they're not metal, but they are enormous lumps of earth many, many times larger than the ship. And they don't sink, do they? They've been floating happily on the sea since the gods created them. Well, I suppose so. What? Tsugumi would like to explain something to you. Okay. Not gonna do there yet. Bell. Yes. Oh, a trap for catching mice. Yeah, I see have plenty of those back home in Japan. Although they seem to be using a lump of chalk or something as bait. Let me see. Yes, I think that's what it's called. Cheese. It's made from milk of cows. Cheese? I wonder what that tastes like. You can't eat it, Naruto-san. The trap will snap shut on your fingers. Really? But... I suppose you're right. You weren't actually going to try it, were you? All I've had to eat for the past couple of weeks is Kazuma's leftovers. What about the chicken? You don't know how hungry I've been in that wardrobe. Poor you. I'll find a little snack for you later. I'll have to click this is boring. First class cabin number 1. Yes, that's our cabin. Not our cabin, it's Kazuma-sama's. Sorry. Your accommodation is confined to the wardrobe inside the cabin. You know how to make a stowaway feel small, don't you? As small as the wardrobe I've been calling home. These cabins are the finest on the ship. My own cabin in steerage is number 539, by the way. 500 and... how many cabins are there? This is it. This is the cabin next to ours. The one the ventilator connects to. Yes, the ventilator from which Kazuma-sama wrote that he saw a speckled band emerging. Maybe whoever's in this cabin can help solve that particular mystery. Let's ask. No answer. We're out of luck, it seems. There's no one in there to help with our inquiries. How annoying. Well, is it locked? Okay. Wrong options. It's back due. How do we go back? Oh. Move. I don't want to go back into Kazuma's cabin yet. Unless there's absolutely nothing here. What do you think this is? It's a very pleasing shape, isn't it? That's the emergency alarm. It's probably best not to touch it. Oh, an alarm. It says, press only in times of emergency. It looks as though it sets alarm bells ringing all over the ship, and brings the vessel to a complete stop. Oh, this I have to see. What are you doing, Naruhodo-san? You mustn't touch it. But this is an emergency situation. Look at these handcuffs. You know full well that's not what the alarm is for. If you were to bring this vessel to a standstill for no good reason, you'd be in an even worse situation. Ah, I wish everything would just stop. The ship included. If you have to do something foolish, at least make it something that doesn't affect anyone else. Ah! What was that? It came from inside the cabin. Such a high-pitched scream. It must have been a woman. Stand aside. I'm about to break the door down. Mr. Sholmes? I shan't be stopped. When the fit is on me, I revel in kicking doors off their hinges. Please wait, Mr. Sholmes. The door doesn't appear to be bolted. It doesn't? Then how the deuce can I dispatch this muscular urge? What prey can I kick? I think we should just go in. There's no time to think about stress relief. Oh. Scissors. We found the revolutionary. A Western gentleman. This man looks Russian to me. We heard a woman scream. A woman? Don't be absurd. As you can see, there's nobody but me in this cabin. True. This old man does appear to be the only person in here. But in that case, who just screamed? Get out, all of you, now. Please excuse the intrusion, but you're Mr. Grimsby Roylott, I believe. Yes, that's me. And you are? I am the one and only, the actual Herlock Sholmes. You've heard of me, no doubt? No. I'm a great detective among great detectives, one who adorns the covers of popular magazines, no less. So I assure you, you may trust me completely. The man uses that magazine like a business card. A detective? I don't have to trust detectives. We distinctly heard a scream emanating from within these walls. But there wouldn't appear to be a lady concealing herself within the wardrobe this time. Or might be so bold to ask you open that small traveling case? What? Don't be stupid. How could someone fit in a small trunk like that? Well, it's quite fashionable these days, is it not? Traveling inside one's trunk. Don't look at me. Oh my, did you see that, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, the case just shook. Leave now, otherwise I'll call the steward. So this is Kazuma's neighbor, Mr. Grimsby Roylott. There's no doubt about it. This strange Russian man is hiding something. I couldn't agree more. Let's see if we can find some clues before that burly sailor returns. Mr. Roylott, we'd like to talk to you about something. No. Oh. I do not want to talk. Leave my cabin now. This is going to be terribly. We're not getting anywhere here. I agree, but there may be someone else who can help. Perhaps that great detective could get somewhere with Mr. Roylott. Mr. Roylott, we'd like to talk to you about something. Okay. Do you have a moment, please, Mr. Sholmes? You need only address me as Sholmes. That's what I just did, isn't it? Well, Mr. Sholmes, what were you doing in there? Why, I was resting, of course. Resting? Indeed, I was contemplating our sea voyage when the confines of the wardrobe was waiting. Waiting for the inevitable time that you would need to call my great powers of detection into service. Oh. It would seem that the hour is upon us now. The time has come. Am I mistaken? Well, no, actually, you're spot on for once. Observe closely. Our Russian host in this cabinet, Mr. Roylott, is clearly trying to hide something. Do you know what is the most effective weapon to use against a Russian hiding a secret? Why, the truth, of course. Though it should be pointed out that such methods are not exclusively for the Russians. Right. Can you imagine how the Russian will react when the secret he guards so closely is exposed? Would you like to witness it? Yes, please. Well then. What are you about to see may well astound you. For I am about to apply my great detective's greatly admired great deduction to the case. This man B? More hack-eyed portrayal? Be a more hack-eyed portrayal of a dubious Russian, I ask you? What? Time to time it occurs to me. Is the fellow dubious on account of his Russianness, or Russian on account of his dubiousness? I really don't think either of those things should be occurring to you, or me, or anyone. That's right, and Mr. Sholmes. I know this man's beard and dark glasses are hard to ignore, especially on first meeting, but I once read, it is a capital mistake to theorize before you have all the evidence. It biases the judgment. Shh, I must have complete silence. What are you doing? Why are you peering at my face like that? Ah, just as I thought. Yes, I have quite made up my mind now. Huh? There can be no other explanation that accommodates all the facts. Mr. Roylott, I have reached two incontrovertible conclusions. What do you mean? Number one, your true identity is that of a villain. Using those shears, you are able to end the existence of something most dear. Are you not? Huh? And number two, the other conclusion I have drawn, you are, at this very moment no less, in the midst of committing a most grievous crime. That's not the conclusion I would have came to, but whatever. Beneath that beard, your mouth quivers with nervous tension as you realize you have been discovered. Does it not? Naruhodo-san, I never imagined I would witness one of Mr. Sholm's great deductions with my own eyes. That was a great deduction? Nothing can deceive Mr. Sholmes. In a single glance, he can deduce all there is to know about a person. What? What ineffable twaddle. Ah yes, I've read about it countless times in the adventures of Herlock Sholmes. And now I've experienced the astonishing impact of his great deduction firsthand. It's like a dream come true. I can hardly believe it, but all the color has drained from Mr. Roylot's face. It looks like somehow both Mr. Sholmes' conclusions were right. How could you? How could I possibly know such things, you wish to say? Very well then, I shall elucidate. I shall explain how it was that I arrived at this pair of conclusions. So, do I cordially invite you upon a journey of logical discovery, let us board the train of reasoning. Put plainly, let us work through my deductions together. So, the dubious-looking Russian, Mr. Roylott, obviously what catches the eye in the first place. It is the enormous pair of shears in your hand. Now we ask ourselves, what could you possibly want with such an implement? The answer, of course, is staring us in the face. You were on the verge of using the shears to cut away the copious beard you sport. Now moving on. The question then begs this: why would you desire to rid yourself of this magnificent beard, Mr. Roylott? Once again, the answer is plain. We have clear evidence to shed light on the matter. Regards, if you will, this morning's newspaper, in particular the fascinating front page article. Which it would appear you have read also, Mr. Roylott. I'm sure it needs no further clarification. The evidence that reveals your true identity is the article about the revolutionary. Why wasn't that a present? Here's the problem. They don't look the same. The beard is different. So this, it appears, is wrong. In translation, the headline reads, "Revolutionary villain Bolshevik flees Russia via Shanghai." Yeah, that... I'm concluding right now that this is all BS because the beard is not exactly correct. As you cannot fail to observe, the subject of the article possesses an extremely copious beard. Having noted the article yourself, you decide to remove your incriminating facial hair before it gave you away. In short, your true identity is beyond doubt. You are the fearsome Russian revolutionary himself, Violin Bolshevik. Not that I've heard of you myself, you understand. Now, as for my second conclusion, you are, at this very moment, on the brink of committing a most grievous crime. And the proof of this crime, over there. Oh yes, Mr. Roylott. Taken unawares, people have a propensity to let their eyes stray, you see. Ah. And I assure you, the eyes speak so much more eloquently and honestly than the mouth. The answer we seek lies where the furtive glance falls. The proof of your crime sits before our very eyes, yes, the traveling case. It is time, I think, that the case be opened and its contents laid bare. No, I refuse. What could you possibly be concealing inside, we ask? By my estimation, a young lady, perhaps. One slight enough to fit therein. Don't be absurd. And what, pray, would be the identity of this young lady in the traveling case? Dear me. We are not well suited for a life of crime, are we? You careless coup d'oeil betrays you. Once again, we need only follow your furtive glance to find the answer. Yes, the reason you refuse to open your traveling case can equally be found in the pages of this newspaper. For there is another most stimulating article. If we turn from the fleeing revolutionary to the back page. Renowned prima ballerina of the Novowich Ballet disappears from Shanghai. Such a headline can lead us to but one conclusion. Their crime is that of abduction. And according to the article, the young lady's name is Nikolina Pavlova. Thus concludes Herlock Sholmes' great deduction of this Russian enigma, Eleminsky. How is this mechanic gonna work? Because that wasn't really a mechanic, that was just a presentation. Misato-san, that wasn't one of the great deductions I've been hearing so much about, was it? Well, the stories are full of Mr. Sholmes' brilliant deductions, you know. But that did seem a little different somehow. Excuse me, Mr. Sholmes, could you come over here a moment? Pray, what can I do for you? It's about your deductions. Would you mind? Not at all, go on. Well, to start with, there is the newspaper article. I think we had the same discussion before, but these two men look nothing like each other. Ah, yes, I recall our discussion earlier, and at the time I believe I told you that the man is a revolutionary, well able to revolutionize his own appearance. In fairness to Mr. Sholmes, Mr. Roylott does look more like this man than you do. That's not the point. Another thing, the part about him abducting the ballerina, indeed, a truly startling revelation. At first glance, the case would appear too small to accommodate a young woman. Not just a first glance, it is too small, clearly. You'd be lucky to fit a 5-year-old child into that case, even if you pushed really hard. I don't suppose the missing ballerina is a 5-year-old child, is she? You mean you don't know? No, the young lady is 15. No, I didn't know. How could I? Well, if she's 15, then 10 years worth of her would be poking out from the case. Some years ago, I read something pertinent, I believe. A troop of men consuming vinegar daily in order to promote a certain litheness in their bodies. Vinegar. Is this a reference to, like, the diet of Victoria's Secret models? For such a sour bunch, it would surely be simplicity itself to contort oneself into the confines of that small case. Oh dear, you might be thinking of contortionists in the circus, Mr. Sholmes. This whole thing is turning into a circus. Mr. Naruhodo, something occurred to me about Mr. Sholmes' deductions just now. I think his powers of observation are, well, magical. His eyes cut to the heart of the matter almost instantly. It's just where he directs his attention and his logic that seems a little off. Your idea of a little may be a little off itself, Mrs. Sato. It's just one of the two key words in his deductions that seem to let him down. So I was wondering if we might perhaps tactfully switch them for alternatives. What do you think? Switch some key words in his deductions. Yes, but very tactfully. I feel sure if we could do that, we'd unlock the true genius of Mr. Sholmes' great deduction. Precisely the thought that was going through my own mind. This man is a lot of work. At times I wonder how anyone puts up with me. It's not that funny. Ah, and you, my good fellow. Sorry? Take a moment to look at your wrists. My wrists? Ah! Where are your handcuffs? Huh? How I felt they may hinder your ability to follow me in our dance of deduction. I don't believe it. Mr. Sholmes, you are a marvel. And don't worry, I shall restore the shackles to your wrists when we are finished. I'm not worried. In fact, I'd rather stay like this. So, let us begin. Herlock Sholmes is proud to present his logic and reasoning spectacular. So this is where it becomes a mechanic. Okay. So, the dubious-looking Russian, Mr. Roylott, obviously what catches the eye in the first place is the enormous pair of shears in his hand. That's correct. What am I supposed to do with this? Am I supposed to do a present on it or something? No, there's no present mechanic. Okay. Right? Okay, I can select a thing. No, I can't present it. Okay. Now we ask ourselves, what could you possibly want with such an implement? The answer, of course, is staring us in the face. You are on the verge of using the shears to cut away the copious beard you sport. I'm not sure. Would you really use shears like that to cut off a beard? I doubt that's something I'd ever have to worry about. Doesn't quite sit right with me, though. Doesn't seem to be sitting right with Mr. Roylott either. Which means, I suppose, that the deduction is wrong. Let's try to switch a key word here, Naruhodo-san, and see if it helps matters. Alright, but how? I think we should start by taking a long, hard look at Mr. Roylott. I wonder if it's really his beard that he intends to use those shears on. Exactly. If we manage to find something that seems to fit the sense of Mr. Sholmes' deductions better, then what? Then I'll leave the rest in your capable hands, Naruhodo-san. Why am I the one to do something about this? Well, anyway, let's see if there's anything we could even use to switch around this last sentence. What exactly was Mr. Roylott really trying to use those enormous shears for? Cut his hat. That makes more sense. Are you looking at the buttons on his coat? Could it be that Mr. Roylott was planning to cut these off? Why? Well, when you're wearing thick gloves, it can be very hard to undo buttons. Then couldn't you just take off your gloves first? Aha! So he's going to use the scissors to cut his gloves off then. I want you to take a deep breath and look at this from a fresh perspective, Naruhodo-san. Oops. I think she's angry. Oh. I see how it worked. I get it, new perspective. What's this? It looks like a cascade of stunning golden locks. No, the color is not the point. The point is, what's it doing on the back of Mr. Roylott's head? And how is it growing out from underneath his thick black hair? Because this guy is not actually a man. Well, that's true. It's so stunningly beautiful and stunningly surprising. Something's definitely not right here. Oh, isn't it? You are on the verge of using the shears to cut away the golden locks you sport. Indeed, you have identified the precise detail I was intending to expose. Such lush golden hair certainly does not befit an old man. You're not a man at all, you're a woman. And judging from the length and sheen of your hair. One still very much in her youth. Oh no. If only I had managed to cut off my hair, no one would have suspected. The question then begs this. Why would you desire to rid yourself of those magnificent locks? Once again, the answer is plain. We have clear evidence to shed light on the matter. Sure, it needs no further clarification. The evidence that reveals your true identity. Article about the revolutionary. Well, that was a shock. I had no idea the old man was really a young woman in disguise, did you? What? Why are you staring at me like that? Yes, it was a surprise. Naruhodo-san, you're enjoying this, aren't you? Sorry? You look like you're in your element as you dance around the room deducing the facts of Mr. Sholmes. I'm just doing what we agreed. I'm not having fun or anything. I'm not playing a video game. I'm seriously... Yes, I understand. Say no more. This is strictly business. Not strictly cum. Anyway, let's focus on this next part of Mr. Sholmes' seduction, shall we? The evidence that he picked out doesn't fit the facts at all now. No, that's true, given that Mr. Roylott is actually a woman. Exactly, he's, or rather she, can't possibly be this merciless revolutionary. I support this, suppose it's because the deduction as a whole has taken a different direction now. Yes, let's switch the evidence for something else. Something that fits the facts as we now understand them. For some reason, this woman needed to try to hide her true identity. I feel as though I've either read or heard about a young woman in a situation like that recently. Alright, I'll do my best. This is interesting. Have you found something relevant, Naruhodo-san? Well, no, I mean, it looks like it might be interesting. I can't read a single word, I'm afraid. No, nor can I, but look at this picture. Perhaps it is about a beautiful young Russian princess, do you think? She is very pretty, isn't she? I suppose you enjoy articles like this, do you? I don't know. I can't make any sense of it. Ah, I'm glad you've noticed this article. Ah. Allow me to give you a short summary of its contents. Oh, goodness. Not as bad as Japanese names. Just 20,000 rubles. I have no idea, but I'm not quite sure. It must be an unbelievable sum of money. Susato-san's eyes are shining like diamonds themselves. The tiara is the property of the Novovich Ballet. It would seem the director is beside herself with worry. Yes, I'm not surprised. The company is most anxious to recover both Miss Pavlova and the valuable tiara. There are requested international assistance at all ports with sailings to Great Britain. Could this be another case of a Russian fleeing his or her country? It does seem to be the Russian thing to do. I'm not even going to dignify that with a response, Mr. Naruhodo. Okay.
Yes!
That whole breaking animation has been borrowed from something. The evidence, or the idea has been, the evidence that reveals your true identity is, of course, the article about the ballerina. That's right, you've hit the nail on the head. Renowned prima ballerina of the Novovich Ballet disappears from Shanghai. It would appear that we are finally able to address you by your true name. Yes, because your true identity is that of Novovich Ballet prima ballerina Miss Nikolina Pavlova. Arr. You're right. Her real name is Nikolina Pavlova. Please, I beg you, don't tell anyone. Now, as for my second conclusion, you are, at this very moment, on the brink of committing a most grievous crime. Proof of this crime, over there. Oh yes, Miss Pavlova. Taken unawares, people have a propensity to let their eyes stray, you see. Ah. And I assure you the eyes speak so much more eloquently and honestly than the mouth. The answer we seek lies where the furtive glance falls. The proof of your crime sits before our very eyes, yes, the traveling case. The woman in the ballerina, and she's right in front of our eyes. So clearly she can't be inside that traveling case as well. No, that's right, it seems she wasn't abducted at all. In which case, what is the crime this young woman is apparently committing? Ah, I can see. I'm going to have to step in and fix the great detective's mistake again. Man, this is long. We're like in the middle of this thing. You seem to look pleased, Naruhodo-san. Do you like the idea of another chance to dance around with Mr. Sholmes? Stop it. Anyway, there must be something else here that shows that what this woman is up to. Okay. Not the traveling case. There we go. The waste paper basket. Let's have a little look inside. Naruhodo-san. It's poor etiquette to go sifting through someone's rubbish, you know. Those eyes. She's looking at me like I'm a piece of rubbish now. However, these are special circumstances, I think. Exactly, we have no choice. There's hardly anything in here at all. Oh, well, that's a little disappointing. What, you were looking for feminine sanitary products? Okay. Ow. Ah, look at this dazzling tiara. I've never seen anything like it. Are those real diamonds, do you think? Oh, Naruhodo-san, try it on. What, me? Isn't it usually girls who wear tiaras? Wouldn't you like to try it on? Oh no, I couldn't possibly. It's far too beautiful. Why does this tiara look familiar? I feel like I've seen it somewhere recently.
Yes!
The proof of your crime is surely this tiara. I believe this tiara is worn on stage by dancers in the Novovich Ballet, is it not? Indeed, it would appear to be identical to the tiara pictured here in this newspaper article. And if the reporting is to be believed, it is an item worth 20,000 rubles. In summary, the crime you have committed is theft. Oh no. Yes, you left your ballet troupe unlawfully taking their precious tiara with you. I have no one, no family, no friends. I am all alone, and I need money. But I did not steal the tiara. It was a present from, how do you say, an Earl of Prussia? It belongs to me. This girl is only 15 years old, and she's run away all by herself. She must have been extremely lonely. Alright, I will tell you everything. There is no point to hiding it now. Come, let us not be hasty. What? There remains one unsolved mystery about you. Mystery, what do you mean? You have staunchly refused to open this traveling case of yours in our presence. It is reasonable to conclude, therefore, that there exists some reason why you wish it to remain closed. Is that so, Miss Pavlova? My dear girl, there is no sense in playing games with me. Nothing escapes my attention. Indeed, I have a very good idea of the contents of your case, even before I've even laid eyes on them. Dear me. We are not well suited to a life of crime, are we? Your careless coup d'oeil betrays you. Once again, we need only follow your furtive glance to find the answer. Yes, the reason why you refused to open your case is written in the books on the shelf. He's completely changed tack with his deduction now. I think Mr. Sholmes is adapting his logic to the changing circumstances, don't you? Maybe, but why has he suddenly brought the bookshelf into all this? It's just a wild guess, surely. Oh, do you think so? Well, it doesn't seem likely that the reason why this young woman doesn't want to open her case would have been written in a book that doesn't even belong to her. Yes, that's true, but still, Miss Pavlova certainly did cast her eyes in that direction. I noticed it myself. Then there has to be another reason why she won't open her case. And it must be somewhere in the same area, if that's where her gaze was involuntarily drawn. I agree, that's the only answer. The case contains the snake. Whatever she has hidden inside that case should be revealed by the following her gaze in the direction of the bookcase. This is a charming little picture, isn't it? What is it? Someone climbing a steep mountainside. Or descending one, it seems to be, to me. When you've been on the flat sea for a while, maybe you start seeing hills and mountains and everything. Ah, pet snake. These are the rules of passage for travel aboard the SS Burya. Passengers must not keep weapons or any dangerous objects in their cabins. Pets are also strictly forbidden. There was exactly the same notice in our cabin, too. I wonder what happens if you break the rules. Oh dear, I'm sure the punishment would be severe, Naruhodo-san. You'd probably be left adrift in the freezing cold ocean, or shut inside a tiny wardrobe for days on end. So I've actually been serving time for weeks now, have I?
Yes!
Yes, the reason why you refuse to open your case is written in the rules of passage. Passengers must not keep weapons or other dangerous objects in their cabins. Pets are also strictly forbidden. Inside that case of yours is something forbidden from carriage on this vessel. That is the real reason why you refuse to open it, thus revealing its contents. As we've seen, the trunk wobbles from time to time. But no weapon or other dangerous item would move on its own accord. Which leaves but one possibility, Miss Pavlova, inside your traveling case. Is the last item listed as forbidden in the vessel's rules of passage. A pet. So clearly, you aren't who you said you were. No, I am not Grimsby Roylott. My real name is Nikolina Pavlova. Everything you have said was correct. You absconded during one of your ballet company's performances in order to escape your homeland. Later that same night, you stole aboard this vessel, which couldn't have been easy. The Buria was a huge steamboat with a vast crew. Could you really have snuck on board without being noticed? In order to obscure your true identity, you somewhat recklessly took the guise of an old gentleman. And you intended to sever all links with your past by severing your long hair. Yet to a woman, hair is no trifling matter. My personal recommendation is to leave well alone. So, if it was just you about to cut off your own hair, who was it that let out the scream we heard from outside the cabin? The variable tinkling of a bell. Why, none other than this young lady, naturally. More like a full set of pipes, if you ask me. I was so scared when they ran away from Shanghai. I'm sure they would come looking for me. That's why I decided to, how do you say, disgust myself, so no one would recognize me. As a result, you transformed yourself into that questionable old man, I see. I put on the fur hat and fake beard. Then, just before you came in here, I saw in the newspaper, right on the page, that there was a picture of me. I was so frightened I couldn't stop from screaming. I knew that if I didn't change my appearance completely, they would find me. So I decided to cut all of my hair as fastly as possible. I picked up the scissors in my hand, and at that precise moment, we walked into the annoyingly unlocked cabin door. Things happen like that sometimes, don't they? Things do indeed happen like that, from time to time. Are those two even talking about the same thing? There's just one more thing I'd like to know. What exactly do you have inside your traveling case? You are right, it is my dear friend inside, my only friend in the whole world. Oh, that sounds familiar. But it's a snake this time. Please don't tell anyone if the captain finds out. If you say to any of the crew, your secret is safe with us, I assure you. But in return, you must tell us in as much detail as you can muster about the events of last night. Yes, all right. I will tell you. Mr. Naruhodo? Wasn't it something Mr. Sholmes? Wasn't it something Mr. Sholmes' great deduction? It was certainly something, yes. I'm just not entirely sure what. But at least Miss Pavlova has agreed to tell us what she knows. That's incredible. Indeed, it is incredible. Ah, and one more thing. Yes, what? Observe your wrists. It's just so they can make the animations make sense. Oh, your hands are cuffed again. What? But how? True to my word, I have restored your shackles. When and why? There's still a shadow of guilt cast over you, Mr. Naruhodo. I'm sorry to say, it can't be helped at the moment. Ah, can't it? Really? Anyway, let's listen to what Miss Pavlova has to say. I can't go on not knowing. I have to find out what the speckled band that Kazuma-sama wrote about in his diary really was. Did you know that someone was killed in the cabin next door to this one last night? One of the crewmen told me this morning when I was eating breakfast. The man who died, he was a friend of mine. Oh. That's why we're trying to find out what happened. Did you notice anything unusual last night? Perhaps you heard a strange noise, for example. Perhaps people talking. Perhaps the ship was absorbed by a wild tempest. Perhaps its steam engine exploded. Perhaps everyone on board would have noticed if that had happened. Miss Pavlova, is there anything you can tell us? I don't know. I'm sorry, but all I could think about last night was what I had done and whether they would find me. I didn't notice anything that was happening around me. Oh, I see. You've run away from your ballet company, haven't you? The Novovich Ballet? Yes. I'm traveling to Great Britain, and from there, I want to go to America. I will never dance again. I want to forget everything about the ballet. I will start a new life. You wish to forget? A challenging proposition when you have that striking tiara as a reminder. But the tiara is mine. I need it to live. I have no money of my own. The Novovich Ballet gives us only a little food and water, and we must dance all over the world. I had to run away. I had no choice. If I stayed, it would have killed me. So you ran away to protect yourself? Yes, and the crew of this ship. They have all been kind to me. They let me come on board, and they said I could hide in this cabin. If that is indeed the truth, Miss Pavlova, it creates the most intriguing conundrum. Yes, it does. What do you think about it, Miss Naruhodo? Me, did I say miss? It's Mr. Okay. Well, yes, of course. I think we should hear Miss Pavlova's explanation. To that conundrum, I'm not sure, but... Miss Pavlova, allow me to pose you a riddle. According to this newspaper, it was only yesterday that you absconded from the ballet. Now, that being the case, it must have been last night that you boarded this vessel. However, the SS Burya stopped by no port last night. Ah, that's it, of course. So how is it, pray, that you come to him to be aboard? Now that I think about it, the crewman outside the cabin acted very strangely when we mentioned that. It was just after we asked him about when the occupant of this cabin came aboard. That is not your business. Yes, you're right. He did seem to be hiding something. An angel descended from the heavens, bringing grace and beauty to the stage. Sorry? What was that? It is how the Russian newspapers described one of my performances. And that is how I came here too. I descended from the heavens, because I am an angel. Considering English isn't your mother tongue, your description is very vivid. Mr. Sholmes once said, I never can resist a touch of the dramatic. It seems Miss Pavlova is the same. A genius descended from the heavens, bringing grace and beauty to detection. Words once said about myself. A quote from a wonderfully extravagant advertisement for the adventures of Sherlock Holmes, in fact. Yes, Mr. Showy. Anyway, it doesn't look like Miss Pavlova is going to tell us what really happened, but it had something to do with descending. Right. Now, it seems like this would take a long time to figure out about the snake because it's so critical, but whatever. So your friend that you mentioned inside your traveling case is... So the friend you mentioned is inside your traveling case, is that right? I don't think animals are allowed on board according to the rules of passage. But she already violated a whole bunch of rules already. Oh please, don't tell any of the crew. If they found my precious, then the burly Russians would bestir themselves in unison to throw you and your case overboard, no doubt. Ah. So reassuring, Mr. Sholmes. But what sort of pet is your friend? A little puppy, isn't it? Maybe an adorable little rabbit? Huh, you credit Russians as a land with small rabbits, do you? Oh, don't they have small rabbits there then? You may well ask. I have no idea. Ha. You two are miserable bunglers when it comes to understanding the nature of young ballerina's friends. Isn't it obvious? It must be a chicken. Really? Consider the benefits. A rousing wake-up call, daily fresh eggs, and when adversity strikes, it can satisfy the needs of sustenance. So you eat your friends. I'll remember that. Well, it would appear this friend's identity is a closely guarded secret, not to be revealed. She obviously doesn't quite trust us yet. There's something I should like to show her, I think. Maybe she might be able to shed some light on it. Like, I guess, what if you just present your badge to everybody? Can I show you this? Nice university student from the Empire of Japan, you see. That means nothing to me. No, why would it? Mr. Naruhodo, if you're determined to flaunt your Yumai badge, at least choose a Japanese person who might recognize it. Miss Susato, can I show you this? Maybe later. Oh, I could show Inspector Hosonaga too. Okay. She can shed light on this too, but... This is the diary of my friend who passed away. His diary? Yes, and he wrote in it last night before he died. Something a little unusual, it reads. 1:23 a.m. I can hear a faint whistling sound. And then a few minutes later, 1:35 a.m. What looks like some sort of speckled band is dangling from the ventilator grill. Speckled band? I don't understand. It's strange, isn't it? But the ventilator he mentions joins to this cabin, you see. It's up there on the wall. In other words, this cabin and the victim's cabin are connected together. Oh! Miss Pavlova, has something occurred to you? Does the speckled band the victim mentioned mean something to you? The whistling sound, perhaps? I don't know anything. Oh. Excuse me, Mr. Roylott. Yes, what? Wow, she's fast. Captain would like to speak with you. You must come to Captain's quarters at once, please. Alright, I will come now. You must leave, now. Oh no, it's fine. Don't mind us. Yes, please don't worry yourself, Mr. Roylott. Get out. Passenger said out. Do you want me to throw you out? Ugh. It looks like we'll have to leave investigating this cabin until later. What a pity. So we lost our chance, having still not managed to investigate Miss Pavlova's cabin. We were unceremoniously chased out. That is to say, we were quite literally picked up and thrown into the passageway outside. And that's where I will leave off.